Good morning, dear viewers, and welcome to a new episode of your daily program, Good Morning Kuwait. This is Amal Mullah, and we are live with you this morning from the Ministry of Information here in downtown Kuwait, and we've got a lot to present to you. But before anything, how about I greet my colleague Sarah, and good morning, Sarah.
Good morning, Amal, and good morning to you, dear viewers, and everyone who's watching us through KTV2. Welcome to a new episode of your morning program, Good Morning Kuwait. And today, as always, we have various segments and also special guests that we are so happy and pleased to have them with us this morning. So please keep watching until the end of the episode. So, Amal, yesterday was really a special day for all Kuwaiti people.
Indeed, Sarah, it was really a splendid carnival, if we can say that, because most of the people, and I would say most of Kuwaitis, went and elected the people who are going to speak their rights in the parliament. And this is like a historical moment, because Sarah, from the 60s, 1960,
Yes.
if we can say 63, the first parliament elections has started till today. We are glad to have that democratic attribute to us in Kuwait, and we are happy that this parliament will represent each and every Kuwaiti on this wonderful land.
Well said, Amal, for sure. It really allows us as citizens to practice our democratic, let's say, democratic practice and democratic rights as well, and also give us the freedom of expression and choice. And also, Amal can give us like a really true image of how Kuwait women can really enhance the democracy rights for all the citizens and Kuwaiti people.
Indeed, Sarah, and you know, since the beginning of these re-elections, if we can say that, I have really read a lot about of the the elected people and the one who had been electees, and I have read also about the ladies. There were 15 women who have elected themselves there, and you know, when you read their plans, what they want to give, and not just the women's, I mean the people who are doing whatever they can to represent this wonderful democracy. It is a wonderful plans, but yet we can hear a little bit here and there.
Yes.
And I know that we voted for the right person, the person that we studied his plans, we heard his speeches. And did you vote?
Well, for sure,
That's
I
a good
voted.
question.
It's really, I'm sure I voted because really for sake for helping and serve our lovely land, Kuwait, and as you mentioned, about like 60 female.
Yes.
So
15.
15, and also actually we have today in our episode we're gonna talk more about such a, like, let's say, this type of field, which is a female sector, in our dear guest today. May Allah protect our lovely land, Kuwait, and all the governance and areas for all Kuwait, from east to west.
Yes, and speaking about east and west and north and south, we are ready for the weather segment. So how about we join this segment together and see what's coming for us in the days yet to come. Welcome back, dear viewers. And you know, it has so many names. Some of them would say they are beads, and others, as religious, they would say they are rosemaries. And you know, our craftsman is Abdulaziz Karam. He's a craftsman making beads and rosaries, and an amateur amber craftsman. Started his career at the beginning of Corona with the first bag. He established the workshop and started organizing and preparing the place for the craft, Sarah.
That's amazing. His journey grew from his love and attachment to the hobby of amber and the amber rosary. Wanted to produce a rosary of amber stone by himself, so he decided to start learning the craft until he reached the point where he could make a full rosary of his own production and a patch of family and close friends and the hobbies and lover, and continued until now. So how about your viewers to take a look at this interesting report, and they'll be right back to you.
Abdulaziz Karam, a craftsman making beads and amateur amber, so he decided to start learning the craft until he reached the point where he could make a full rosary from his own production and a patch for family and close friends and the hobby's lovers and continued until now.
Good morning, Kuwait. My name is البكر. I started making misbah rosaries since 3 years. Mainly in the workshop, we use natural materials, which is like kahraman, ivory, shell turtle, and other materials. And for the not natural materials, there is another materials made, which is human made, like Cataline, Paturan, and other materials. Regarding amber, we can distinguish between fake and natural amber from their own features or specifications. Natural amber have a unique smell, and its weight is a little bit not that heavy. And while cutting it in the workshop, you can feel the smell. Cutting a rosary requires several steps to go through. The first step is to calculate the material and how many beads you will get through calculating the stone itself any other material. Then starting using the bandsaw. After the bandsaw, we drill the beads, then shaping them, and then using the lathe, we shape the other parts of misbah. From amber stone, we can get sometimes one misbah, or sometimes you can have several misbah. Depends on the weight of the stone itself. Sometimes, for example, if the stone which is 1 kg weight, we can get 2 or 3 rosaries, or 4 if it's good. Or we can get 1 rosary, which is big in size. So we can determine what size or how many rosaries we can get by calculating the weight of that stone. When it comes to kahram or kahrab, we can't mix the kahrab with any other material while cutting it or shaping it. Regarding any other materials, which is the not natural material, we can put them on layers and then cut them and shape them to have a stone or to have a misbah with several layers or colors. Each step in making rosary or misbah, it has its own difficulty. But through training and exercising and working hard, you will get past them easily. For making one misbah, usually it takes 3 to 5 days. It depends on how many hours you work in the workshop. Amber stone prices differs according to the quality of it. So if the quality is super quality or ultra rare quality, might reach 10, 15 KD per gram. So they do sell it per grams. And sometimes you can get a stone which is 1 KD per gram, and you can calculate. There is different types of strings that we use in misbah, which is nylon, and mostly that we are using. And then we are using also cotton string. The perfect condition for every misbah is to, especially for kahrab, you have to take care of it because it's fragile. It's easy to fracture. So we have to take care of it, and then even though each 3-4 months, even though 6 months, you have to change the string. As I said, misbah is not always to be an amber or kahrab. It is also can be made from not natural material, which is this material, which is Cataline. There is several type of materials that we can make rosaries. I hope you know more now about Misabih. See you in future segments to come.
Hanan Suleiman Azayed, a PhD researcher, holds master degree in management businesses administration, administrative coordinator in a foreign media sector in the Ministry of Information, and she used to be a writer and journalist from 1992 to 2021 in Al Qabas newspaper. She's an activist in women's rights, women empowerment, women's sports, and community issues, human development trainer, certified a practitioner of law of attraction, and a member in Kuwait Journalists.
We're back with you, dear viewers, and what a splendid report about our guest right now, a member in Women's Cultural and Social Association, an NGO, a board member in Optimist Kuwait organization, and that is also NGO, and an ex-player in Women Kuwait national basketball team and El Fatat Sports Club. My guest, in addition to this honorable introduction that we saw and read together, also held so many following positions. She's a member of the EKWIP group, Ibtikar Consultant for Women Empowerment, and that is why we are honored to host her today. So how about we welcome Ms. Hanan Sulaiman Al Zayed, a PhD researcher and General Secretary in Optimist Kuwait, with us. And hello and good morning, Hanan.
Hello, good morning Kuwait, and good morning to you, Amal.
It is really splendid to have you here with us, and dear viewers, she's a good friend as well. So we're going to have a little chat instead of all of those questions that you are used to. So Hanan, I know that you have a splendid CV, if we can say it as that. But the question is, why did you join such organizations? Why did you choose those organizations?
Well, let me say it in this way that for me as a Kuwaiti woman, maybe my dream and my goal to be a mentor or to be a role model for the young generation, especially women, to be in various fields. It gives me the opportunity to be a giver. Let's say in sport, I would like to arrange competitions between girls for basketball, make a league for them, and we did that as well, to empower women in different ways. Life coach, recently I got my certificate.
Wonderful.
And you know, it's very nice to be a giver and to give your community and society in different fields. Mm-hmm. So I'm happy when I see my achievement with others, with the young generation. I'm so happy.
And we are happy that there is a role model now in the grasp of each and every young girl, because what I know in the past, let's say if we can say 100 years ago, girls didn't have that much of an opportunity to find a variety of role models to them. So they were fighting to be the first role models. But now it is an honor and it is a great challenge to be one, to be for the next generation, especially our next generations. Yes. Are really smart, and they have it in themselves to fight for their rights. And speaking about rights, we were talking off the air about women's rights, and today is the day after elections, and we have seen how women fought since the 60s to get their rights. And you said it was in 1985 that they had a little bit of a window of opportunity.
Yes, actually Kuwaiti women got the opportunity to vote and to gain their political rights in 2005, but still they have a long way to go to achieve different. There is a lot of barriers as well. Let's say in gender equality, still they need to do more things and more issues to achieve these things.
So in 2005, women really got that chance, and they had that opening for empowerment, if we can say. So, you know, as a woman yourself, how do you empower yourself nowadays, if we say that?
See, I empower myself to educate myself and learn new skills, and try to get experience from others, especially those who are preceded us yes. in different fields, especially in the political rights. Also try to go through different workshops and to encourage the girls and the young generation and celebrate their achievements. Let's say if there is any young ladies, they have big or small achievements. We need to recognize their achievements. Let's say we do the media coverage for what they said, and also to speak up for their rights. And for me, I'm happy to or I always try to make the change, the positive changing and the positive thinking, to make the awareness, to change the way of thinking. You know, and we said, like I told you, in 1963,
Yes.
the vote or the parliament, the inception of the parliament, it was in 1963.
Indeed.
So it was mainly, they focus on the male.
Yes.
So with 2005, the change happened.
Yeah.
And we are still doing this change. So there is a big gap.
Yes, indeed. And speaking about that gap and the 1963, 1985, 2005, those great gaps that we saw, I know that a lot of supporters for each gender has been there always. So Ms. Hanan, I know as a journalist now, we want to talk about the media, and that is the most important thing if we want to say. The media's role in the past and now, did it change? And we have a lot of media, if we can say. In the past it was only, let's say, the papers, and then radio came, and then television, and we are still to the future. And what do you say about that? How did the media change the face of such elections and seeing the power? Where are they?
Let's say the media go with the flow. Before, we are always depending on the newspaper. And now the social media, it's the era of the social media. And even the newspaper, there is no papers now. We only see the
electronic papers
through our mobiles.
Yes.
So let's say the owners of the newspaper and the media channels, they have sometimes their own agenda.
Okay.
And sometimes they follow some kind of parties and tribes. So let's say when it comes to the election, between and their preferences between male and female,
yes,
they usually prefer to go for the male, in expense of the female.
Because the publicity side, we're talking
publicity, and because maybe they have their own agenda and they are following certain parties.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that the woman or Kuwaiti woman, she is not capability, or she don't have this kind of achievement, but it is only preferences. What is the best choose? What is the best for them? The best for them is to choose the male
over the female. Okay, so we are talking about the social media now, and we can see that the social media platforms, when they put whatever on the table or on those platforms, we can see that they are specifically giving us some messages. Some of them are positive, and the others are negative messages. How do women really prevent that negativity, and how do females, especially the electees, try to gain the trust of the society?
The social media is very significant and important, a very important role and tool when it comes to the election and to the campaign. So the candidate, whether it's a female or a male, they should be caution and have responsibility when it comes to the positive effect and the negative effects.
Yes.
Let's talk about the positive effects. The social media give the candidate, whether a male or female, give them the wider spread for variety and diverse of audience, because everyone can see the platform.
Yes.
And it gives them a chance to put their campaign and their goals, and to be in contact, direct contact with the voters.
Yes.
Although on the second hand, on
yes.
negative effect, that it is very easily that there will be a fake news and misinformation, especially when it comes to the last minute of the election.
Yes.
Everything will be messed up. So the candidate and people who are behind the candidate, the keys, we call
Yes,
the keys,
we call them the keys.
they should be very aware what to publish and what to put in the social media, because social media, everyone can read it. Even a mistake in a word, it can be disaster for the candidate.
Indeed.
So this is the positive and the
negative side. So I think a cautious is always in need for anything that we can see or say on those platforms. Speaking about also the candidates, we know that today is the day after the elections, and some didn't make it. Some ladies, we had 15 candidates of women during these elections, and I know that some didn't make it. So what's next for them? What's the plan now to whom they should really matter? The message that they should send and receive?
I believe women and even they cannot work by themselves alone. If you just be a candidate to spread your goal and everything by yourself, I don't think that you will win. I believe being under the support of certain party,
yes,
political party,
yes,
will help and will give the woman support, and she will have more voters. So
as a quota, do you believe in quotas?
I believe in quota. For a temporary quota.
Okay.
Temporary quota in the parliament will provide opportunity, a golden opportunity for the ladies to just let the society see the change. Maybe and women who will be in the quota should make the change. So society will believe in them. Yeah. If there is no change for the parliament, because everyone now is disappointed from the parliament.
For indeed.
So there should be a change, and a positive change. Yes. If there is a positive change, so people start to see, oh, let's vote for her.
Okay.
You know, let's give her our voice. Here's the difference. But now we can see that a lot of people are disappointed because they see the National Assembly. It's steady.
Yeah, there is no change in front of them.
So quota will, I think, will provide a good opportunity to make changes and to define for the women rights when it comes to women rights, civil rights for the women.
Yes. So a woman is the best person to speak about or for herself and her gender, that is, and I think a change is a must. So we are waiting to see this positive change that we are all hoping and praying to get. Thank you very much for being here with me and in the Good Morning Kuwait, and thanks for talking to us about such important issues, Ms. Hanan.
Thank you, Amal, and I would like to congratulate all the new candidates in the National Assembly, and hope to see the change.
Yes, we are all hoping and really rooting for those changes, as we can say. A big thanks to our guest, Hanan Sulaiman Zayed, a PhD researcher and a Seroptimist member. And, you know, it is the change that we are all waiting for, that change that will give us a hope, a start to the future. And speaking about the future, I know that in this episode we've got a lot yet to come. So how about a quick break, then continue Good Morning Kuwait.
And we came back again, dear viewers, with our reports, and we have too many interesting reports. So, Amal, I always been fascinating in craftsmanship. Like, let's say, by you're doing some like art pieces by your hands, and we have such type of art which is called macrame.
Yes, indeed. And before we go to that report, may I just say something that Sarah has a great artistic stitching craftsman. And Sarah, you were great, and I have seen it firsthand. So when did you start stitching?
Thank you, Emil. I really started back in Corona, first time in Corona. I really loved doing some handmade crafts. Let's say it's called embroidery.
Wow.
It's like painting in fabric or on the fabric. You can just paint in your pencil or such a type of, let's say, pen that's really specialized in embroidery.
Yes.
And then after that, you can paint in threads.
Well, that stitching and embroidery really is a craft with artistic taste, and I have seen Sarah's art, and it was wonderful. And you gave us some in the studio one day, and it was marvelous, Sarah. Thank you. And speaking about arts and crafts, we know there's a lot of us who have those artistic tastes and touches. And macrame, as Sarah said, is one type of a textile created using knitting techniques, as opposed to the weaving or the knitting. The knots are square and from full hitch and double half hitches. And I think you know a little bit about it, Sarah.
Well, I know that. The craft required only inexpensive and accessible materials like cotton, twine, hemp, leather, or yarn, with various beads used to enhance the piece. So how about to take a look at this interesting and lovely report, dear viewers, and be right back to you.
The primary knots of macrame are the square or reef knots and forms of hitching, various combinations of half hitches. It was long crafted by sailors, especially in elaborate or ornamental knotting forms, to cover anything from knife handles to bottles to parts of ships. Alison Sean Price arrived in Kuwait in 1984, almost 40 years ago. She is the founder and the CEO of One World Actors Centre UK in Kuwait. She has built its production house and educational department to present and train multicultural actors and speakers in Kuwait. Many have entered not only the international entertainment business but diplomatic corps, businesses and law. Alison had directed in UK Dar al-Athar al-Salmiya and JACC in Kuwait in English and Arabic. Having a passion for learning, Alison has a bachelor degree in physics, a license in performance, a London diploma in acting, and master in history based on her research of the Middle East. Alison is a returning lecturer in history in the cultural season of Dar al-Athar in Al-Salmiya, and a theater director under the Kuwait National Council for Culture, Arts and Letters. Her last show, Mother's Courage, referenced the plight of all women in wartime. She will lecture in London in July. Interculturalism is the center of her work. She is currently writing a book on Western women travelers living and working in the pre-oil Middle East in times of war and interwar. In 2017, Alison was awarded an MBE by Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth for her services to the dramatic arts in Kuwait and the Middle East, and the Fellowship of the Royal Geographical Society in 2020.
Well, after seeing this interesting and lovely report about our dear guest, Alison is a returning lecturer in history in the cultural seasons of the Dar al-Athar al-Islamiyya and a theater director under the Kuwait National Council for Culture, Arts and Letters. Her last show, Mother Courage, reference in the plight of the women in wartime. In 2017, Alison was awarded an MBE by Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth for her services in the dramatic arts in Kuwait and the Middle East, and the Fellowship of the Royal Geographical Society in 2002 to say she had the idea called the female tell. It is a pun on women speaking, telling, and the tell of civilizations word information. Let's welcome, dear viewers, our dear guest, Alison Sean Price. She is an MBE founder of One World Actors Centre. So, hello and good morning, Alison.
Good morning.
It's really lovely to have you in our show today.
Thank you for inviting me.
You are most welcome. We saw this interesting introduction and report about yourself, Alison, but we'd like to know from you. Could you please introduce yourself to our dear viewers?
Well, I arrived in 1984 and I found that it was incredibly interesting not just to stay 1 year, but also to stay 40 years. And I found throughout staying that not only have I brought up my own children, but my children became intercultural. And the work I've been doing is intercultural as well. I realized that it's very easy to come and teach somebody something from your own country. But when you come to learn, because as a child I was a traveller with my parents,
Yes.
and they took me everywhere. If you come to learn, you enrich yourself, you evolve, and your cultural identity evolves, and suddenly you're able to look at the world from a different point of view.
Yes, sure.
So Kuwait has done so much for me, and I've met so many different people who have introduced me to many, many areas of Arabic history.
That's amazing. Through your, let's say, traveling with your parents, that give
Yes.
you, let's say, open the path of having some merge or cultural merge between, let's say, Middle Eastern and your religion. Is that true?
Certainly with Middle East, because I came here wanting
Yes.
an adventure, but also illumination.
Elimination.
So as a child, I travelled through Africa with my parents.
Wow.
And therefore, you're very humble when you go to such places, the wonderful friendship and the wonderful kindness you are shown. So when I came to Kuwait in 1984, I was very young and just married.
Yes.
And my husband and I thought, well, I brought him from Wales and decided that we'd stay and see if we liked it. We loved it. We fell in love with the country. There wasn't much here. There was a lot of desert farms outside certain areas.
Yes.
Now it's been built up and it's so cosmopolitan. We stayed just up until the invasion and then just got out with our baby daughter and came back when the oil fires had died down because we had 2 babies there.
Wow, lovely history and lovely story, Alison. May
you.
Allah bless your family and your
Thank you
kids
very
as well.
much.
So, Alison, in 2002 you started an idea which called Female Till. Could you please tell us more about such, let's say it's a pun or a community?
Well, I found that with women,
Yes.
when we talk to each other, we talk very quickly. We discuss a lot of things that we both understand. And it doesn't matter what nationality we are from. And when we start to discuss, we also bring in, certainly if we're of a certain age, we'll bring in our history as such from our grandmothers, our great-grandmothers. And I was incredibly lucky to have a childhood when there was no internet.
Okay.
So we had to write letters home, and my mother's kept those letters. And I can now access the letters for my historical information about arriving in Kuwait.
Wow.
So letters, nobody writes them anymore. Women used to write, they're prolific writers. They used to write diaries, books. They used to press flowers in books wherever they travelled. You can see their evolution throughout their travel and how they talk about everything. They talk about the people they meet. They name the people they meet. So they might have hired somebody who's a guide through the desert.
Yes.
And there's the ladies I research. But they name the person, they talk about their family. And not only that, later on in their books or their travelogues, they explain that the person that they were with was ill, therefore they'll move mountains to make this person better, even trying to get them a visa somewhere else and asking anybody to try and help that person. So you see these women, they developed relationships.
Yes.
And the history that I talk about and the history I am really interested in is the history of the people. And that is the stories that people have. And when we discuss together, we tell each other those stories. And we find we have a similarity.
Yes.
And we, oh, my grandmother did that, or, oh yes, I had that, we had to do this.
Yes.
And that suddenly starts to break boundaries. And we come together and we find out that it's only political that we are divided.
Yes.
For no other reason. Because when people talk together and they speak together and they share their children, they introduce their children,
Yes.
they welcome them into their home, then that is the moment when the true interculturalism takes place.
That's amazing, and this is the purpose, let's say, of female tell your idea, which is like, let's say, strengthen the bond between all the female from all around the world, despite their cultural differences or religion differences, or many languages, many communities. So this is the purpose of the female tell, to tell and share
and share and learn.
And learn as well.
Because maybe our culture, maybe that wasn't the correct way to do it, or maybe
Yes.
we're becoming too globalized, and we need to have a refreshment course.
Yes.
So we learn from different people that way.
That's amazing. So I've been talking about history, and I can see that you are passionate about history because you just graduated your master's degree in
Postgrad.
UK.
Yes,
oh,
yes,
postgrad.
postgrad.
Yes, of your
Yes.
master's from UK about history.
Yes.
So in your point of view, what's your estimation on how were women mentioned in the history?
Women weren't really mentioned in history.
Yes.
Of course, our queens were mentioned. Tremendous queens. Boadicea was our Celtic queen who fought against the Romans. And you have very strong women who are remembered. But the reason that women aren't mentioned is not because they weren't famous, because they weren't revered, they weren't respected. They were.
Yes.
They were highly respected by the gentlemen around them, by their communities, but it wasn't written down.
Yes.
And if it was written down, when somebody came along to decide to write a history book, they dismissed that part of the information. They didn't think that was very important because they wanted to talk about the wars and the politics and dividing countries, etc. So history has three areas. You have history, which is it's a record
Yes.
of the past. If the record is not there, the past is there, but the history is not there.
Exactly.
Then you have historiography, which is all the details. So you have to collect all those details and put them all together.
Exactly.
And you create then whatever concept you have. But the most important thing, certainly with women, is historical imaginings. Now, I found this name from a wonderful book called Gulf Women,
Yes.
and it was put together 14 different papers by Arabic scholars, women, about their history, about the Gulf.
Yes.
And I was presented with it, and from Amira Sambal, she has edited it all, and it is part of the University Press in Doha, in Qatar.
Okay.
And I found so much information from there about the fact that if there is a void in history, and somebody says, oh, what happened to this community? Many times a scholar will say, oh, well, it must have been this. That becomes an imagining.
Yes.
So the imagining, because it's by a scholar, becomes history.
Yes.
And therefore in history we have to look at history from your actual facts, not just the imaginings they're going through.
Exactly.
So more and more women's stories are coming up because they're found by women.
They found by women.
Women understand it, and if they're found by men, they don't know what to look for because they won't understand the women's trials and tribulations
Yes.
and her journey. So they would just cherry pick whatever they think is
Yes.
important. But we look for things that are really important. For example, one of the women that I talk about is Gertrude Bell, and because I'm British, I decided that it was only fair that I went with British women, because then I can talk about their journeys. And I would never say that I was an expert of any other country's
Yes.
history, and what they learnt about it through the people they talked to.
Yes, that's amazing. You are digging in some of the women history in the book, as you mentioned, because it's founded by, let's say, women.
Yes.
So, Alison, in the future, this may extend to include enormous issue. What are the restrictions that you intend to do to keep in the right path?
I think it's very important that you respect somebody else's culture and you state that is somebody else's culture.
Yes.
And you have received that information through that person. If we take the big museums around the world, I know there's controversy, but if you go into any room in a museum, it would say, this is the history of that country.
Yes.
This is the history of this country. So we must always respect the culture of somebody else's. I think with globalization, there's tending to be a lot of ideas are taken from other cultures and then changed and then given out as belonging to another group.
Yes.
So certainly in places, capitals, London, etc., there would be Moroccan baths.
For
I do
example.
hope that Moroccan ladies are running the Moroccan baths.
Yes.
That's what I feel should happen. And if it would be Chinese food, then it must be with people who come from China,
Exactly.
who understand the culture and would discuss the culture as well. Because once we become globalized, there is a tendency we will lose our cultures.
That's amazing, Alison. And we'd like to know how actually this idea, let's say the female tale, would provide new data in the future.
For me, I think it's really illumination.
Okay.
So I wouldn't be taking information from somebody else. If I was going to speak in London, I would be stating, if I did, I would be stating, I received this information with the permission from XXX.
Yes.
And therefore it's a win-win. That person's name then gets taken around in different areas, London or any other country, and saying, please read that book. That book is incredibly interesting. Because if it's ownership or copyright of yours, then I will win by saying, I met this wonderful person who explained to me all about that.
Yes.
But you would win by stating that that it was your book. I think we have a problem with people such as Sir Isaac Newton, and talking about gravity, and also talking about light, and he wrote about light.
Yes.
He was a great supporter of Ibn al-Haytham, and I was so lucky to find Ibn al-Haytham's books in the Alexandria Museum in Cairo, sorry, not Cairo, in Egypt, of course,
Yes.
not in Cairo. And he had a painting painted with all the books. But throughout the ages, people have forgotten that he grew from the information from Ibn al-Haytham. He accepted Ibn al-Haytham, and today we have to state where we have the original idea from.
Original idea from. So, Alison, you already spoke about, let's say, the purpose of female tale to strengthen the bond between all the females from all around the world. So, what, in your point of view, how can actually help to in walking the bridge, let's say, the cultural bridge differences between all these countries, actually?
Well, I'd say about 3 years ago, I did an event at one of the international schools for women's empowerment, and it was for Women's Day.
Yes.
And all the year 13 girls wore their national costume, and they spoke about a woman in their past who was very important and influential to them. And when I started it, nobody knew of anybody influential that was a woman in their country.
Okay.
When I asked them to research, and I also set a group of science students to do that too, they came out with the most amazing women from this area, from Kuwait, that they didn't know about before. And really it's a starting point to get people to talk, to get people to start their own groups, to get people to remember that the past is vitally important.
Yes.
Because if we don't realise our past and all the brilliant things women and men have done before, we're going to reinvent the wheel, aren't we? So we're going to go through all the challenges and the worry that we're making mistakes. But if we know somebody's done it before, all we have to do is improve. And if we do not put that in our history books, if the government or the Ministry of Education don't put it in, all their young people will start again. They'll start from the beginning, and they will not be as productive as they could be. Such as Mubarak the Great, Sheikh Mubarak. He was a tremendous gentleman. And how many children really know about him? People in Britain should know about him. So this is sharing everything like that.
Yes, that's really lovely, Alison. It was really lovely hosting you and to have such a great information. And I can say I'm so proud of you as a female, of how you are like presenting like a female, and also best of luck in your female tale. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Big thanks and appreciation to our dear guest, Alison Shah-Price. She is an MPE, founder of one of the World Actors Center. Don't go away, dear viewers. Let's have this talented break, and then we'll move on.
And welcome back, dear viewers. Thanks to each and everyone who joined us. And you know, here in Good Morning Kuwait, we are in the studio, but there is a whole team behind the scenes, an effort that has been put together, and it's not just a slight one, a great one. So a great thanks from us to those heroes behind the cameras, the heroes that are not on the screen, the heroes who really take a look at those reports and grab the moment for us, Sarah.
For us, indeed, Emil. So how about to take a look at this interesting report, and I will be right back to you.
Hello and good morning. This is Hajar Limhanna, and today we are speaking innovation, technology, education, and women empowerment. So I'm so excited, and so are you, to know about today's subject. So how about we go check out today's conference?
Good morning. My name is Lieutenant Austin May. I am with the U.S. Army down at Camp Arifjan. Today, at the Forum on Innovation, Education, Technology, and Women's Empowerment, we've had a chance to hear from professionals and representatives from all across different sectors of the Kuwait economy and governance. As a member of the U.S. Army and as part of our massive team of thousands of Americans here in Kuwait, what we want to see and what we are so proud to see every day is steps forward, progress taken, not only in improving the education and financial potential of men and women on an equal level, but more importantly, a more prosperous, forward-thinking, innovative future for Kuwait. So when we look to 2030, to 2040, to 2050, what we see is a country that is independent and strong and capable of finding unique ways forward that work especially well for Kuwait and also its neighbors across the GCC and the entire region. The U.S. Army wants more than nothing to continue working progressively with the Kuwait Ministry of Defense, the Kuwait Ministry of Interior, and the people of Kuwait to make sure that that future that we all see together is peaceful and prosperous and safe for all of us, for our families, for this next generation to just live their best lives. Thank you.
Actually, I'm very pleased today to participate in this event, just to share MBK experience and how to support women empowerment within our organization. I've shared several opportunities that we offer for women, which is a RISE program, and the need of that program and why we have create such program in order to create more leadership among the women, as well as the necessity of the learning and education that we really help to grow the human capital that every organization is keen to do so.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Mercedes Vázquez, and today we are hosting the first of its kind forum on innovation, education, technology, and women empowerment in Kuwait. We are celebrating different sorts of achievements from different distinguished leaders who contribute to reimagine the economic fabric and its sustainable diversification through mission-critical industries. We're looking at innovation in industries such as cybersecurity, ESG, which stands for environmental, social, and governance, banking, energy transition, skills in a new digital era, public-private dialogues. We have a whole setup of panels lined up from the day with speakers from private and public sector who are sharing how they're contributing to reimagine the future. This event is hosted by SK Holding, where we are addressing different sort of innovative solutions that can contribute to reimagine the future by harnessing the power of digital transformation and the responsible use of technology, especially with a special focus on the use of responsible artificial intelligence and cybersecurity, as well as skilling initiatives to empower the youth. Thank you so much, and we hope everyone enjoyed today.
I'm very excited to be here today at this one-of-a-kind conference hosted by Mercedes. I'm very thrilled that they thought of the U.S. Embassy because we are always striving to be very active and present partners on these initiatives and issues, especially when it comes to women empowerment. And luckily, this conference is focusing on innovation technology, but then also how women are involved in the economic fabric, because it's more of a holistic approach to keep everything up and growing constantly. And without women having economic security, having economic empowerment, we can't have a thriving economy, whether it's here in Kuwait or in the United States or around the world. So we look forward to continuing to partner on these initiatives, and the U.S. Embassy is always happy to boost women everywhere.
So we are here to build bridges as those figures from all over the world did. I hope you enjoyed today's event. I'll see you next time with more exciting stuff.
Well, dear viewers, I hope you enjoyed our episode. It was really beneficial about, let's say, a female, especially me and Emel. We really got interested in our guest today, with your guest Hanan, and with my guest Alison. We've talked about female as well.
Indeed, Sarah, and it's just a proud moment when you see those ladies put the effort that they have into them to be a role model for the young generation. They are teaching them, they are giving them insights, advices, and it's a wonderful thing to share with others. And as well, we've got a couple of crafts reports that has a splendid ending that is touchable, as the macramia and as well as rosary. And we saw a report about the efforts of our team.
Exactly. And actually, I have really, let's say, point out the point that what she said, my dear guest, Alison Price, about how she is really digging into female history, not only about war and like culture, countries. She is really do some research about female sacrifices, and also about the female till. The community she is almost want to start it in the near future, about sharing and exchanging actually, let's say, a cultural between all the, let's say, regional and between too many cultures and countries, despite the differences, the cultural differences, and the, like say, region differences as well.
Well, Sarah, it was really great listening to your guest talking about the history. And we always know that history has been transmitted not just by writing, but by the stories ladies tell to each other. And by telling also Hanan Al-Zayed, who is a journalist and a Saroptimist member and a member of a lot of organizations, gave us a hint of how women can achieve the goal they desire. And speaking about goals, I know that a lot of you have goals yet to achieve, but not now. After we finish this wonderful episode of Good Morning Kuwait, I think it's a wrap from all of us. Thank you for joining us, and be safe, healthy, and well.
Well, have a lovely day, dear viewers, and bye-bye.